Japan, 1876. No enemy out there, no siege, no war. Nobody is breaking anybody's door down, and yet a samurai is standing in a queue. The stone under his sandals is wet. The air is cold enough to show his breath. Nobody in the line is talking. For the first time in his life, his sash is empty. His swords are at home in a chest, and 5 months ago carrying them became a crime. Today he collects a sheet of paper that replaces everything his family has been paid. Every man here came for the same reason, and none of them will look at another face. The front of his forehead is shaved to the skin, and what is left is bound with heavy oil into a knot at the crown. That knot was an ingenious fix designed to stop a head cooking under a helmet. But this samurai never had a helmet, and neither did his father. Years earlier, the government had made cutting the knot legal. It did not ban it, it made it optional. Cut it if you like, it said. Almost nobody cut it, because by then the knot was not a rule. It was the identity itself. On the street, your hair announced you, not your face. The swords worked the same way. A man set his distance and his greeting by them. Giving them up was legal. Socially, it was a silence you walked into. And nobody wanted to go first. Telling a class it is no longer required does not end that class, because they were never doing it, because it was required. Now, look at the paper in his hand. The ink says 7% a year, and that does not sound bad at all. But the income from a junior samurai's bond was tiny, about 1/3 of what the lowest paid worker in the capital earned in a year. What the government said was this: your inherited income is closed. It was not a punishment, but a solution, because there was none left. This is the story of a class shut down without a single clash. In 8 years. By the end, close to 500,000 samurai had to do something they had never done: earn money from nothing. What finished most of these men was not the day they put the swords away, but the day they sold that paper. First, where did this samurai's pay come from? A samurai was born into an income, drawing rice from the state, and its dust was on every floor in the house. It came down from his father, and to his father from his grandfather. Not because he worked, because he was from that family. He did not have to take a job, and what he inherited was not a title. It was the payroll line itself. Nobody thought that line could close, because it never had. From the government side, in 1869, these payments were eating more than 1/3 of everything the state spent. Every third coin went to an army that had not fought a war in living memory. Picture a country handing 1/3 of its budget to reservists who will never be called. The system did not work. Nobody was denying it either. The problem was not laziness. The problem was arithmetic, and nobody argues with arithmetic. Europe solved the same problem across centuries, and French and English nobles lost their power slowly across generations. Nobody told them on a single morning that they were finished. Japan fitted the whole thing into less than a decade. First, it took the weapon, then it took the pay, then it took the privilege. And it did this not after losing a war, but after winning a change of order. So the side that finished this class was not its enemy. It was its own government. The first blow landed in 1873, and most samurai did not understand what had happened. The government brought in conscription. The army would now be built out of farmers' sons, and the right to carry a weapon held by a single class for generations suddenly belonged to everybody. This samurai's trade was not taken from him in law, its monopoly was. And do not forget this line: a privilege stops being a privilege on the day every man is handed it. The second step came in 1875, and this was the step that broke the back. The government converted the stipend from rice into cash, and on paper, it looks like accounting housekeeping. But rice was food, whatever its price, and when rice got dearer, the stipend got bigger automatically. Cash does not do that. Cash sits in a box and goes cold. So this samurai was moved on to the wrong side of inflation. Nobody explained it to him. The third step landed in March. Carrying a sword in the street was banned, except for the old lords, the army, and the police. So the sword was not banned. It was converted into official equipment. Anyone breaking the rule had his sword confiscated. No warning, no notice, no appeal. You woke up and the thing that had gone through your sash all your life was a crime, and the mark that separated you from every other man in the street was gone. The first thing this samurai noticed was not anger, it was weight. 2 swords on the left of the sash set up a balance that knocks your hip with every step. Take them off and even the width of your stride changes, and his hands kept going to a hilt that was not there. The body hunts for a load it has carried since he was a boy. It does not find it. What everybody noticed first was lightness, and lightness felt worse than he had expected. The fourth and final step came that August, when inherited stipends were closed and replaced with government bonds. Generations of income turned into a single sheet of paper, still wet with ink, and the government's logic was simple and honest. We pay you once, we take you off the books, and after that, it is up to you. This was not a class being retired together. Retirement keeps paying. This was a class being shut down. So, what was that paper actually worth? A junior samurai's bond paid 7% a year. The rate was not bad. What was bad was the principle. The size of the bond tracked the old stipend, so the same law turned a handful of top families into investors overnight. At the bottom, it came to almost nothing, and a family could not live on it. Either somebody worked, or the paper got sold, and none of these men knew how to work. Most of them sold. A provincial prefecture's report a few years later has a striking line. 90% of the former warriors there had already sold their bonds. 6 years. The solution, designed to close a system older than every man inside it, was spent before the decade was out. And once it was sold, it did not come back. There was no second sheet of paper, and the income of these families was not taken from them. The family sold it itself. So, what did they do with the money? Most of them opened a shop, and they were catastrophically bad at it. The reason was not intelligence. For generations, these samurai were taught that the merchant sat at the bottom of society. Haggling was shameful, asking a price was shameful, chasing a profit was shameful. And then what happened? They woke up and were told the only thing that could save them was that shameful thing. Disgust taught over a lifetime does not turn into skill in a year. Some of them chose the uniform. The first patrol force in the capital was 2,000 men, and the man who built it was a samurai. A few years later, that force became the capital's police headquarters, the only door the sword could legally come back through. But it no longer arrived by inheritance. It arrived with a wage, same man, same waist, same cold steel at the hip. The difference was that somebody now paid him at the end of every month, and whoever pays you can stop any day he likes. Some of them went north. The state set up a scheme, settle the northern island, break the ground, be a soldier at the same time. A village ran to a couple of 100 households, and the term of service was 20 years. In winter, the ground froze hard as stone, and the frost got into their hands. In summer, the heat made the marsh reek. In the hottest months, the mosquitoes came off the water in clouds, and hands raised their sword were pulling out the tree stumps. And the samurai doing it still called themselves warriors. Then there were the men who made the swords. The masters who worked the finest steel in the world lost their orders overnight and turned their benches to other work. Same forge, same smoke and ash, same folded layers, hammered out in the same heat, the same ringing coming off the anvil every dawn. What came off the bench now was a kitchen knife or a sickle, the same craft, a different table. Those legendary Japanese kitchen knives came straight out of this bankruptcy. In 1877, some of them took up arms. This was the class's final answer, and it lost. The army that put them down was not built of professional fighters, but of farmers' sons, boys with field dirt still on their hands. So, the samurai class was beaten by the people it had been told were beneath it, and that was the moment the class really ended. Not in law, out in the field, and after that, nobody ever made the same claim again. Then came 1883. Only a third of them could still hold a government post or cast a vote. The rest were ordinary people now, and in those years the topknot quietly disappeared. No band finished it. No ceremony marked it. Nobody announced anything at all. It simply stopped being worth the oil it took to keep, and the knot that outlived the helmet by 50 years could not outlive the pay by 6. Before I go, I have a question for you. How much of what you think you are is being held up by the thing that pays you at the end of the month? Would you still get up and do it every morning if the money stopped? These men did not lose their courage or their discipline, and what finished them was the closing of the line that paid for it. And nobody had ever seen that line because it had never closed. Next time you see a samurai on screen, do not look at the sword. Look at who is paying. If you like this kind of storytelling, subscribe, take care of yourself, have a good day, and stay well.